Welcome to The Last Sane Otaku discusses Japanese history. Today's topic, Yaoi.
Hello, I'm the Last Sane Otaku. For those of you who don't know, yaoi is the sound you make when you stub your toe or hit your thumb with a hammer. What? That's not it. Gay? How gay? That's pretty gay. So is there any, girl stuff in this? Well, then why aren't I doing that one? That's actually a really good reason. So who's this for anyways? What is this, like gay porn or something? High school girls. Alright. You know, I can actually still use most of this. Yaoi predates almost every other form of art. In fact, it is considered the oldest art form in Japan. In a cave in Japan, there is a painting that is dated at well over 30,000 years old. And this painting, unlike the usual cave painting, does not depict the hunting of animals or pictures of animals being hunted. This one pictures two teenaged cavemen that are oddly fit and completely hairless. The interpretation of this painting has changed in recent years. The original, accepted interpretation was that the first caveman depicted in the painting had dropped his contact lens, and so was on his hands and knees looking for it. The second caveman, being his friend, was helping him look by standing very close behind him on his knees, presumably to look from a higher angle. The second caveman also appeared to have poor balance, as he was holding onto the hips of the first caveman to keep from falling over. This was the accepted interpretation until the invention of the contact lens, when people realized that cavemen did not have contact lenses, and the interpretation changed it to what it is today. Yaoi has persisted in Japan continuously from that first cave drawing. Evidence of it can be found in every era of Japanese history. It has always titillated high school girls, then the occasional boy, and confused the ever-loving hell out of their parents. Yaoi first reached American shores in 1855. Yaoi was brought here by none other than Commodore Perry, who returned from his historic voyage to Japan with a treaty, several Japanese chins, the dog, never mind, and over 4,000 volumes of yaoi manga. It appears that Commodore Perry had a particular fascination with yaoi, as did a remarkably large number of his sailors. As an interesting bit of trivia, the yaoi was the first good unloaded from the ships. That makes yaoi the first official trade good between Japan and the United States. When yaoi reached the United States, it immediately gained popularity with teenage girls in every state, except Massachusetts. Yaoi made its way to Europe and had its part to play in European history. There was, of course, it played a key role in the Crimean War and the independence of Italy in the fall of the Ottoman Empire. None of those could have happened without yaoi. Easily, the most significant moment in yaoi's history was the part it played in World War II. Yaoi was used by both sides during World War II to varying levels of success. Surprisingly, it was the Allies who made more efficient use of yaoi. In preparation for the Normandy invasion, Allied leadership dropped thousands upon thousands of propaganda yaoi mangas from bombers onto the French countryside. The plan was that these manga, which featured at their core a love triangle between a teenaged Hitler, Mussolini, and Hirohito, would confuse and distract the enemy troops. And the plan was a smashing success. Most historians agree, if not for the Nazi troops' fascination with the yaoi imagery, the Allies never could have taken the beach. Some Nazis couldn't be torn away from the manga even for the battle. Others, when they realized they would be fighting the country that created the manga, simply surrendered. Eventually, copies of the manga found their way to Germany and then to Hitler. Officially, Hitler was furious about the manga, but privately, according to his journal and surviving friends, he was a big fan. In fact, there is some evidence to suggest that distraction from the manga was the only thing that prevented Hitler from finishing his sequel to Mein Kampf. When the Japanese saw the success that the Allies had with their propaganda, they quickly created some propaganda yaoi of their own. But the Japanese yaoi had two fatal flaws which rendered it almost useless as a tool of war. The first problem was that Japan had already sent its top-shelf mangaka talent to the front line to draw battle manga to keep the troops pumped. This meant that second-class artists had to draw the all-important yaoi manga, and it was therefore confusing and hard to follow. The second major problem was that Roosevelt had polio. This rendered the FDR-Churchill-Stalin love triangle laughable. Given the success that the Allies had with yaoi during World War II, there was real fear that yaoi would be used again during the Cold War. This terrified everyone involved, as no one wanted to see a Reagan-Bush yaoi. We came close to this doomsday scenario several times, but eventually the United States and the USSR came together to sign a yaoi non-proliferation agreement. That yaoi would never again be used as a tool of war was so significant an event that a monument was erected at the site of the signing, featuring the leaders of both nations, as well as a number of hairless young men. Sadly, the signing of this treaty had an unforeseen and unfortunate side effect. The sight of two such great rival nations coming together for the common good spawned a horrific yaoi manga series featuring Reagan and Gorbachev. This was, without question, the darkest moment in the history of yaoi. I believe it's appropriate we all observe a moment of silence. And that brings us to today. I'm the Last Sane Otaku, and I hope you found this enlightening.